Good morning. We're looking today at Nehemiah chapters 4 through 6, and the Israelites under Nehemiah are rebuilding the wall of Jerusalem, and these other people around it, the person Sanballat, is upset because they're rebuilding this wall, and it says he was greatly enraged and he mocked the Jews, and Sometimes when someone else is building something or reconstructing something, we might get bent out of shape a little bit too, and we might be guilty of mocking people for doing different things that way. These other people were used to seeing Jerusalem in ruins, and they seemingly delighted in the fact that the Israelites had been scattered. And it's a reminder to me that, when God led people out of Egypt, and he was about ready to destroy them, Moses says, if you destroy these people, they're just going to prove everybody right that you're, about what they say about you. And so here, God had finally gotten fed up with the Israelites, and they had been scattered, and now he was bringing them back. He was again showing his love and grace and his support of them, and the neighboring countries didn't like that, and they were and he says, why are these feeble Jews doing? These feeble Jews. The Jews are one of the people, I don't know. They're still around. We've got Norwegians, and we got Germans, and we got all these. But the Jewish nation, even though there was no country of Israel for many years, there are still Jewish people around, and so to call them feeble is to put down. But anyway, Sanballat and Tobiah the Ammonite was beside him. And they were against the Jews, and he says the stone wall they're building, any fox going up on it would break it down. So not too much confidence in their building skills, and when you think about this temple that had been built and the walls that had been built, and it had all been destroyed, but yet so these other people just didn't think too much of the Jews' ability. And I know that sometimes we hear those kinds of same things today as we look at somebody doing something and they're not doing it the way we think they should, and put them down. But anyway, they keep going on, and the word comes to Nehemiah that this is going on, and he prays to God, and he says, "Hear, O our God, for we are despised." They taunt us, and throw their taunts, throw their jeers, throw this back upon them again. protect us, and do not. And he says, do not cover their guilt. Let their sin be upon them. He's saying to God, deal punishment to them. Don't be gracious to them. But they rebuilt the wall, and as they were rebuilding, they found that they had to, because of the threat of everything going on, the people that were building had they had their swords belted on, and some were basically there ready all the time in case there was an attack. And the wall was quite a huge wall, many a long distance from one side to the other, and so it was said that if you hear the trumpet sound that there is an attack, come to help out, but the work went on, and they got the wall completed and everything that way. But they were continually battered down by those others around them. And like chapter 5 starts with, there was a great outcry of the people and of their wives against their Jewish kin. There was just diversity, and there was division, and it was a hard thing to see all that. And then not only that, but the richer people were taking advantage of the poorer people, and that comes to light as well, that they're taxing them and they're charging them and they're billing them for things they shouldn't be, and the poor people are, they're forced to sell their land, to give up everything they have, and they don't have enough to buy what they need for food and everything that way. And this all comes to Nehemiah's attention, and he calls these rich people together and he says, you are exploiting each other. And this was one of the things that God said don't do. He says, don't take advantage of your kinsmen. Don't charge interest. Don't, if you lend something, just take care of each other. And so as Nehemiah had called all of these rich people together, they saw the error of their ways, and they backed off on some of their exorbitant charges, and they refunded money. And it's so much like in the world today. I mean, we hear every day. I mean, our gas prices are going up and up and up, and the oil companies are making profits like they've never made before. And there's something wrong with this picture. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with them making a profit, but to be making the types of profits they are at the expense of the people. And every day we turn around and there's another crisis, another calamity, or something else happening that's causing disruption to our markets and to our food supply and to all of this and everything. And somehow we need to get back on the right track as a nation as well. But as Nehemiah dealt with the oppressions and everything, what does he do? He comes to God and he asks God for leadership and guidance. And I truly think that this is one of the things that our country, that the leaders of our country need to take to heart. It's not enough just to pay lip service to God, but we need to have our leaders, actively do as God would have them do, and not just our leaders, but each and every one of us to do as best we can that way. But Nehemiah deals with this oppression. He comes to God and he asks God for guidance, and as I said, he calls the rich people together that are taking advantage of everybody else. In verse 6 of chapter 5, he says, I was very angry when I heard their outcry and these complaints, and after thinking it over, I brought charges against these officials. He called them together and he called them out on what they were doing. And as we go on further through verse 14, then it says, that Nehemiah was appointed to be their governor in the land of Judah. And so he was, the governor, the person in charge of things. And so this again comes to play against him, because these people, Tobiah and Sanballat are against Nehemiah, and they come with charges against him, saying that Jerusalem is rebuilding the wall, and they're coming together and they're going to make Nehemiah king, and they're going to usurp the authority of everything, and they're just doing anything and everything they can to stir up trouble. And we don't need people like that in our world today any more than they needed them then. But we have people that way. They just like to stir the pot and like to cause commotion and cause a disruption and things all of the time. And it's we some people just do their best to be an antagonist, and I don't understand that. Is it because of jealousies or what it is, for sure? But these enemies, it continues through chapter 6 here. Then he was reported to Sanballat and Tobiah and to Geshem the Arab, the rest of our enemies, and to the rest of our enemies, that I, Nehemiah, and our people had built the wall, and there was no gap left in it, although the gates hadn't been put in yet, it says. But it says all of our enemies. I mean, it seems like the Jews were up against the whole world, and sometimes it feels like that's the way we are too. The whole world is against us and everything. But the people, these other leaders want Nehemiah to come and they want him to do that to get him out of the protection of the city so they can do away with him, and he knows that, and he says, I'm not going to come, but it's just so often as we look at the things happening in the Bible, 2,000, 3,000 years ago, that they reflect so much of what's still going on in the world today. And it's because of the way humanity is. I mean, we want this for ourselves, but we don't really care if everybody has that. And there's nothing wrong with bettering ourselves. There's nothing wrong with making a living. There's nothing wrong with having a house and everything to live in. But if we do it at the expense of others, that's when it's not right. But this greed and this corruption and everything, it's still evident in the world today. And it's one of those sad things that it's not going to go away. And so that's as Christians, it's our duty to come to God in prayer, in dedication, asking God to intervene in the world, asking God to protect all of us from each other, from ourselves, and from everything that's going on in the world. And as the United States of America, we put ourselves on the line in so many different areas of the world, so many different ways, with our military, our peacekeeping roles, and trying to do so much in the world. And rightfully so, as a God-fearing nation, we need to be trying our best to help others and to support them. And that's what God would have us do. So may He lead and guide you today, as always.